Like, get all the credit cards out.
That was this. That was careful selection.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know. You can sort of hold on before you're starting.
Okay, you can give me the word.
Sorry. I think made a good choice.
Where's Jim?
Yeah.
What's eating a
Special counsel.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that?
It has more going on.
Water rates.
Texturally, frosting's better.
Good.
Overall, a better choice.
Heck. Dylan, you're really great. And oops, okay. Hold on. I'll take this home to my husband. I'm gonna feel bad because maybe someone will eat it.
So bad. Daniel, do you want us to save some treats for you?
Yeah, I can actually head that way, but I won't be there for 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's cake.
Hello.
There's a piece of cake for you right here.
I want a piece of cake.
Hey, this is your cake.
Okay, 10 minutes. Be here. Aloha.
Do we have a quorum if I start? Are you guys gonna be okay until I get there?
We'll have a
Martin?
quorum.
Yeah, just
Okay.
leave your camera on. Right.
All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit.
What's on the agenda?
Yes, please.
I'll pass.
Valerie, how close are you?
I felt the energy though.
There was a lot of
Looks like
energy
you got
in
some
that.
There
obligation.
was a lot of energy.
I'm kind of tempted. You guys look like you're having fun.
We miss you.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the hair. That was fun. There was a kid. There it is.
Yeah, there's the kid.
There's the kid.
Our next member.
Sorts of age.
She's a few terms away, but she'll be there.
Say when.
He's under that.
You said yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I call to order the Flagstaff Bike Advisory Committee meeting of July 3rd, 2023, for the last one for some of us. And the first one for others of us. So Susan Hepley here, Kim Austin here, Daniel Krim on his way, Stella Hollander
Here.
Samantha Meyer,
Here.
Matthew Mitchell,
Here.
Valerie Pyatt,
Here.
Martin Ince,
Here.
Jeff Bauman, Chris Fair.
Here.
Is Chris okay?
It's great.
Christopher.
Chris.
Chris, okay. Ryan Turley. Think so. Adam Williams? No.
I was behind you, but shouldn't you be on the agenda?
Okay, amongst the public, Kevin
Hayes.
Hayes,
Through this meeting,
Oh,
and the new group will start.
oh, gotcha.
Carlton Johnson. Hopefully I have the ability to read name tags. And you are, what is your name?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I can't, yeah,
Hi.
I wasn't sure if you're looking at me.
I felt like
You're looking behind you.
I thought it was obvious. I don't blame you for being
on the screen.
You truly were on the screen. Hi, I'll just read Kai. And are there any other public here? Nope. And Jim McCarthy is not here. I'm shocked.
There's a council meeting.
Oh, that's right. Well, we'll give him.
We don't have to keep it down, do we?
So either keep it down or just laugh like really loud and say, no, what a good time.
Say how good the cake is. Delicious cake. All right, do members of the BAC have any comments to make?
Some of that first rainfalls. I've noticed some debris getting washed over some of our foot trails, but before I could even report it, I noticed the city or the park service or the street service already cleaned it up, so.
Wow,
Just say,
Nice.
congrats for the city to be watching our trails too on our bike lanes.
clean butts.
There was a lot of debris. I don't even know where that came from.
Yeah, the one of Dutch Brothers, the Horsemen's,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Does anyone else have any BAC comments? Thank you, Mitchell. Nobody else? All right, I guess I don't even have comments,
Well,
except,
I have an announcement.
okay,
Carlton started with the city a week ago Monday.
uh-huh,
He's a new transportation planner dash multimodal.
oh,
So
wow.
it's the third addition to our team. That now includes Chris, myself, and Carlton.
Would you like to give a quick bio? Tell us about your interests and passions and.
Oh, sure.
Susan made you do.
I'll stay pretty quick. So I had worked as a civil engineer in town for a number of years. I left, went back to grad school with the idea of transportation planning primarily. I did transportation engineering as a civil engineer. And then I was able to get back to Flagstaff. I actually worked in the city and comprehensive planning for a few years there. So combining the land use side. And then went into the private sector for a few years and couldn't turn down this opportunity to come back at the city working transportation planning, which was kind of where I was eyeing all along, trying to connect people to the land use and places they want to go.
Are you a cyclist?
A bit, yeah.
We always have to ask what kind of bike you ride. What's your favorite kind of riding?
I have, my commuter, I think a base level commuter is good enough, gets me around, nice and smooth. And then, like gets me by mountain bike too, neither too fancy, but get some miles on some of them.
Good deal.
Mountain bike less so these days with a couple of little kiddos.
Okay,
I'll get back at it.
all right. Well, welcome aboard.
Thank
Anyone, any other BAC comments?
I just thought of one.
Go.
Metroplan just hired a Safe Routes to School coordinator, so I will make sure when the person actually starts that I'll introduce to him. So it's coming.
Okay. Progress.
With my introduction, I have to leave now already.
Oh. That was quick.
Take care.
Take
I
care.
grabbed a couple bites. Thursdays,
Cookies, there's cookies too.
Thursdays will work better from now on though. So
Okay.
I'll be a regular after this.
Excellent.
See ya.
Happy 4th of July.
Oh, you too.
Indeed. All right. So then go on to public comments. We have any public comments? We don't have too much public besides our new people. In fact, I think that's all we have. All right. So, well, I guess new business that segues pretty quickly into the new rule of order. New order. So, the third gal, what was her name? I'm sorry, my,
Jen Hanks.
Jane?
Jen,
Jen. Who, and she could not make this meeting.
he's in Andorra.
What's she doing there?
Biking.
Wow. Cool. Well, so we have, two of our new people here. Kevin Hayes, which we had a quick intro last month, but since you weren't here in person, I would really like you to do a more personal one while you're here, so we can relate it to you instead of just your voice.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for having me. I'm honored to be a part of the team for the next year. I I'm celebrating my 1 year retirement from NAU, 25 years at NAU. I spent the last few years as an avid e-biker. It's my primary vehicle around town. I did it for NAU and now I do it around here and I'm almost at 5,000 miles on my little bike here. So I started doing some, as I started retiring, I started doing some work for bike safety. I started working for NASCA in the Bike Advisory Council and started working with the city, and Martin and Jeff have been very helpful in helping make the streets safer. And we've been meeting, I actually started some conversation with ADOT to have them change some lights on Country Club. If you haven't noticed, all the street on Country Club, those lights turn on automatically. They're called walk on rest is what it's called. It's detailed stuff. But so anyway, I applied here and I'm glad to be a part and excited to see what can come from it. So
What did you retire from?
I was in IT, 25 years at IT. Yeah. Yeah, I touched pretty much every NAU system in one way, shape.
And your bike preference, so you have your e-bike,
I got my e-bike. Yep.
and you've been riding that for how
It
long?
has saved my life. So, gosh, probably 5 years, 6 years, something like that. I have rheumatoid arthritis too, and so keeping the joints moving has saved me. So I ride whenever. Yeah. And my favorite time to ride is in January. I love it because it's cold and it hasn't really dumped snow, and so you can just be the only one on the road. And I wear my ski helmet, and it's just great. So.
Yeah. Do you have a special interest in joining BAC? A special,
I want to focus, I would love to focus on street safety, getting the street lights. I'm trying to focus on what I'd call quick wins, right? So if we can modify some of the street lights, especially the ones that are related to the bike paths of the main town, we can make the commuting for, people around town easier so that people get to be less aggressive. What I've always said is in town, in order to really bike, you have to be an aggressive biker, right? And that's one of the hardest things to learn is because it just doesn't give you that opportunity. And what you guys are doing and what I've seen when I look at like Butler and all that stuff, you're building it to allow that to not be the case. So if we can tie the streets into it too, I think it'd be great. So.
good deal. Well, welcome aboard. Hope you find it all very interesting. And so then Kai Kelly is also joining us this week for the first time. Kai, would you like to give a visual presentation?
Yeah, sorry, my dog just started barking. Yeah, so I'm Kai. Also very honored and stoked to be here and working with the BAC. I am not retired, but I'm looking forward to that someday. But congratulations on your retirement. Yeah, I mean, I've been in Flagstaff, about a decade now, and it's kind of moving here is what turned me into a cyclist, kind of out of necessity, but also, it's definitely a convenient option. And I think once I graduated, I started thinking a little more ideologically about cycling and like structurally as well, like how does it all work? What doesn't work? So I started volunteering Lefty Lucy, which was like a kind of a bike co-op where we went once a week, met up and rebuilt donated bikes, made them safe and rideable, and distributed them to people in the community who needed them. And that was like a really rewarding process. And also just like having that community element to help. I learned a lot about bike mechanics there because I'm not, a naturally gifted mechanic. So that was a really rewarding experience. And then after that, I just kind of thought I wanted to keep riding my bike. And so I did like a 6-week tour where I rode across the country, basically, on the Great Divide, which was really cool. And that kind of led me to kind of want to stay, semi-related to that bike packing world. And so now I work at Road Panda. It's more sewing than actually biking, but it's cool to meet people who are going on adventures and also just like, you know, making things that are useful for people commuting to carry their stuff. So that's been really, really fun. And I had the pleasure to have a cup of joe with Sam a week or two ago, and she was really awesome. We had like a great discussion about, you know, the BAC and the goings on. And we even were joined by uh, someone at an adjacent table who had lots of feelings on the matter, and we kind of ended up in
Community
outreach. Yeah,
Something like
community
that.
outreach, yeah, official capacity, but
Engaging
you know, yeah, engagement. I will say it felt like what I imagined being in a Joe Rogan episode feels like, but nonetheless, it was a good time. And she actually sent me her presentation that she did with Adam Shimoni on the history of cycling on Flagstaff, and that was like really cool. We talked a little bit about it, but to see the maps and hear a little more in depth and how far the city has come, it's really it's you know, it makes me feel like, you know, we've come so far and we're able to go so much further. So I'm feeling positive about the future and excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. That's great. People, that means 3 of us get to stand down after our over tenure, our super abundant tenure.
Who's counting?
Counting. So do we want to elect the next chair, or do you want to save that for next month?
Yeah, what I would suggest is, the 3 of you who are leaving are still on the committee through tonight.
Okay,
So the 3 new members will start in August. So we should schedule the election of chair for August when all the 3 new members are seated on the committee and they
Okay.
can participate and have the chance to vote on
okay.
or run for president or president.
That's no longer a democratic process.
Run for the benevolent dictatorship of chair of the committee,
Yeah,
if that's okay.
okay,
And then Jen is traveling, so she wasn't able to be here. So
right,
it'd be good to give her a chance to be a part of that as well.
good. Very good,
So before we move from that topic.
yes,
Agenda item,
yes,
this is introductions and acknowledgements is on the agenda. So we need to acknowledge the 3 members who are leaving. And so I have a few things to say, and then we can open it up to the floor. And then if we can wrap that up, if the members want to give any of their thoughts or reminiscence
that's a
about,
few weeks.
yeah, last words of wisdom about being on the committee. So we'll start with Matt. Matt, you've been on the committee since 2016, which is a long time. Matt, I mean, it's pretty obvious to anybody who's been on the committee for a while that Matt's enthusiasm for cycling is undeniable. I run into Matt once in a while riding into work, and you usually use a single speed to get in, but I can either talk to you, engage you in conversation, or I can breathe and try to keep up with you riding, but I can't do both. Typically, and usually when I ride with you, I get to work a lot earlier, but for some reason I'm really out of breath the time I get in. So Matt's has great enthusiasm, but it's been really pragmatic on being on the committee. I think he brings a very level-headed, kind of down-to-earth approach to making biking better, and you've been a great addition. I'm gonna miss you. Next is Kim, who has been on since 2017. But there's kind of an asterisk to that because Kim was on the pedestrian advisory committee since, do you know when that started? I could have looked that up.
2008.
2008.
Dang.
And she termed out of the pedestrian committee and we thought, no, that this cannot be the end.
I don't even think I skipped a month.
Yeah, so
Good
we,
way.
so this is part of the kind of the back machinations that we sometimes employee. So we got her on the bike advisory committee to serve another 7 years, since 2017. Kim, I think a lot of you are aware that Kim used to be the Safe Routes to School coordinator for Coconino County. The county wrote a grant to the state years ago, and on that basis of that grant, they hired Kim to be that coordinator. So Kim has done more to train kids how to be safe and confident on a bicycle than anybody ever in this community. And even though the county lost that funding, she continued to kind of do that job. Every chance she got, it was kind of catch as catch can. I think for a while you were part of the dental hygiene program at the county.
Yeah.
Kind of a wild.
Yeah.
They combined.
Grant funding,
For some reason, those two things were.
Yeah.
right?
Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. Kim moved on to become the TDM coordinator, travel demand management coordinator for Metro Plan. So we will undoubtedly see more of.
So I won't be leaving.
And she's still doing the bike ed for kids, which is just amazing. How many kids would you estimate have gone through your bike rodeos? Thousands?
Probably because remember those ones at Fort Tuthill when we had 300 kids? Did that for like 7 years in a row.
Wow.
So I don't know. I haven't counted.
For sure, thousands probably, but we think of all those kids that kind of becomes a rite of passage in Flagstaff to go through one of Kim's bike rodeos. When you're in
COVID was a real bummer because we had one planned and then it all just fell apart.
But think about all those kids that have been exposed to not only to bicycling, like as a thing, as a recreational activity and a form of transportation, but like doing it well, doing it safely, knowing the laws and respect for that. And then last is Susan, who has been on since 2016 and chair since we were trying to figure this out, probably 2020-ish.
Around then, yeah, during COVID, I started being the pretend chair.
You were just active chair.
Mark left.
Well, we went virtual, yeah. So for Susan, this is kind of the at the tail end of a long career in bike advocacy. You've done a lot of different things. She was on FBO's board from practically the beginning. Like how
I
long
was
after?
trail building. I didn't get onto the board until 06.
Till 06, okay. And did trail building before that. And even after your career as a limnologist at USGS, she went to work at a bike shop, which is done. This particular bike shop serves like a different demographic, let's say, than some of the other bike shops. So really getting bikes into the hands of people that can use them and need them. And one time years ago, I was riding the bus home. Somehow I got into a conversation with somebody, and somehow we started talking about bikes, and somehow we discovered that Susan was the bike mechanic for both of us. He had taken his bike into her, and he was trying to remember your name, and he described it. And I go, "Oh, that's Susan." Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Daniel was one of my customers too.
Yep.
So a long and distinguished career of serving the biking community. So kudos to all of you. I'll open it up to the floor, I guess, if anybody else wants to share any thoughts.
I still am a customer of yours.
Oh,
I'm an ongoing, I have very low maintenance bikes.
It's very nice.
So you need some work.
Yes.
I'll be in there.
What store it is?
It's called BC Mundo. It's, we do a lot of used bike repair and sales. And so we're on the other side of the Murdoch Center. So I always tell people, if you can find your way to the parking lot in the Murdoch Center, you roll down there and you'll roll into our bike shop.
Awesome.
We're the funnest and most eclectic bike shop in town and the friendliest. Definitely. And we still have one bike for you.
I'm coming for it. I promise you.
I saw the other one this week. It's like, no. Well, I did have some words. I did want to thank all you people who I've served both with and over. When I first started, Matt and Mark and I, and seems like there were 4 of us. We're all new and we all came at once. And then you came just a little bit later and you came a little bit later than that. But yeah, we pretty much started the whole board over.
It was Margaret that started, I was there.
Mark Hogluck and
No, Margaret Panato.
Margaret Panato, yeah. So I really want to thank all those people I've worked with and you guys, including Mark Hogwatt and Jeff Golden. I think maybe Jeff Golden started at the same time and Margaret Panato, and then a couple of visible people that never showed up very much.
He just wanted to focus on, he was on the board of FTI and wanted to focus on that.
What's FTI?
Sorry, Flagstaff Growth Initiative.
Oh.
Yeah, and all great people. I mean, we couldn't do any of it. We've gone through at least 3 different police representatives since I've been here. And we've had Jim McCarthy and Adam Shimoni as city councilmen, and we've had great support from the city council. I mean, every time it's come down to a vote, when all of the maintenance people are saying, we want to rip out those separated bike lanes, the city council has backed us up, and I really appreciate that. That's been crucial. Thank Martin. He doesn't make just great maps, but he's held down the fort here for so long. I don't know what the city of Flagstaff's gonna do if you ever retire. I guess you just
He's
can't.
Why would that ever
Yes,
happen?
you just can't. It says wait.
Paris for thought.
Yeah, and the public.
How would I pay for bikes?
If that works for you, I think we need more from you than that, besides that and your maps. Yep. So yeah, I really, really, really appreciate everything that the city and this by giving us this format to act. It's been, not all cities get to do this, and I'm grateful for even though I hate the Roberts Rules of Order, I'm grateful for a democratic process that mostly works, even if I can't always figure out what to say at the right time. So thanks to everybody for helping that out. And so for all the new people and people left behind, I do want to say, be steadfast. You guys are so important to Flagstaff's future, but this process is slow and it can be frustratingly, aggravatingly tedious. So don't give up when it seems like you're spinning your wheels. Hang in there. We have made progress. It's not always easy to see, but it does happen. And it's a lot because of the people that end up in this room. So stay on it. We're on the right side of history. We're on the right cause. And as cyclists, the whole city is going to appreciate our efforts because we are the future of almost any city, in my opinion. So thank you. Okay, that's all I have to say.
What year was the bond passed? 2018. So you guys were here before.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I came on board, it was like you guys were real clear about we aren't just like in a vacuum, just like talking about, just like admiring the problem. Like there's like a certain, I mean, this committee has a certain amount of teeth just because of that money being earmarked for projects and the AMTP, ATMP, I always get that wrong. ATMP, yeah. And the work that we're doing, it was so nice to come on to this commission and have you guys here to be like, okay, take it seriously because this isn't just like, stuff is gonna happen, like it's gonna happen. And you guys were here from before that passed and then all the way to now, the projects are starting. It's pretty cool.
Valerie's
I'm not, I'm not laughing at you, it's like my perfect side, and she did the adorable, and I'm laughing. It's awesome.
That's Harper. Harper?
Yes, if you want to list her to add her to the list of attendees again.
I'm pretty, my daughter grew up on the PAC, so I totally get it. They would sit in the corner with food and, you know, they draw pictures and, I mean, they did all sorts of stuff. Martin remembers.
Did Harper have a bicycle?
She does.
At
She's
the time
got,
we were,
yeah, she's got her own bike, and then she rides the trailer cycle with me all the time.
Good job, Harper.
Good job. You're better than my 11-year-old.
Good deal. Does anyone else want to make some comments?
You want me to let you finish?
Kim.
I don't feel like I'm leaving, so,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can't vote on anything, but I haven't been able to vote on anything since
Power.
January. So I honestly don't feel like I'm leaving. Cause I'm excited for the SS4A grants and all the upcoming work. Complete streets, Butler conversion and all that. And
Handy
to do more
projects.
safe routes to school and see if we can really improve safety and get more kids cycling and, you know, commuting by active transportation. So I really don't feel like I'm leaving. So go ahead.
Well, when I first started here, what drove me is because my kids were commuting to school and it was scary as a parent, which I think all parents kind of see that. So jumping on this committee was my kind of something more I could do to make the streets safer for my kids. But since I've been here, I've seen the 4th Street Bridge, you know, completely expanded. Now we got protective lanes on both sides of the bridge. And then Sparrow, my kids went to Sinagua, so we couldn't cross the road anywhere. Now we have a crosswalk and we got some bicycle friendly line work down Sparrow and stuff. So, I mean, like Susan said, it's a slow process, but man, it's happening and we've got some momentum going. And I'm looking forward to the new bunch coming in. I think it's great that, you know, the folks that have been here, it's time for us to go. It's time to bring in the fresh new ideas because that's what it's going to take to keep that momentum rolling. I'm really looking forward to it. And like Kim said, I'm not going to be like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be right over there now in the shadows with my little coloring paper too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Charging us.
yeah, the peanut gallery.
Yeah.
There.
Back when I was on the committee, it was much better.
No, I'm not going to be that. No.
These people don't have very good comments at all.
It's definitely been a real pleasure though, being on this committee, playing a role in Flagstaff's history, you know?
We'll have to get a group picture, both the old picture, the old group and the new group. We'll have to stand in front of Valerie in front of the screen to get the old picture. And for Kai with the new one. Excellent. Do we have an agenda that we have to deal with? Martin?
yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. All
business.
right, you're the committee.
All right.
The agenda's in your hands.
Okay. Number 2, active transportation master plan status and review.
I got a few slides. Give me just a moment to call them up. And I'll try to go through them quickly. You can talk to amongst yourselves.
What's the name of your bike?
My bike, the Batmobile,
Okay.
That's a
the
good name.
Bruce Wayne.
Okay. Good, I like that. Yours?
I don't have a name for it. It's a Landleski. It's like a
Yeah.
little off-breed that I.
Well, you can think of a name.
Yeah, Land.
Nothing.
No.
You guys don't name your bikes?
I name my plants. I don't.
I have bike 1, bike 2, bike 3, bike 4.
You literally like, in your mind, you're like, oh, bike 2 today.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like you could do better than that.
Sam?
Oh, I named it the feminist flyer because of the
Nice.
importance to bicycles for women's suffrage and rights and pants. We can all wear pants now.
What's that,
Bicyclists, yeah.
that quote? I used to have it it signed all my emails. Nothing was more liberating to women than the invention of the bike.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the wording right, but it was
I know
something
what
like
you
that.
mean.
Yeah,
It was very important.
yeah, it was awesome. It still is.
Still is.
When I was a kid, bikes meant liberation. Chris?
Man, I don't have a name for my bike. I wish I was prepared for this question. Like 10 minutes, yeah, I don't know.
Just one, so I didn't.
It's gotta be
just
good.
go on.
Go home and you're gonna have
Yeah.
a conversation with your bike. What is your name?
Sit up in bed tonight and be like, that's it.
I told you, the plants. We have
Oh, the
Oprah,
plants.
we have Genevieve, we have names for our plants, but, and our cars, but not the bike. I don't know.
Yeah, same.
Man,
I know,
all my bikes were the
but
Enterprise.
I only have one,
All
so.
your bikes were the
Were
Enterprise.
the Enterprise, and then I was like, I gotta quit doing the Enterprise, so.
Okay,
Well,
Millennium
so then
Falcon,
there's
there.
my precious.
Just in my head for
I took it, thanks. You can have it.
Unbelievable.
Uber loose, Blanca, and, well,
E Blanca.
Blanca.
Okay, I'll do that. You do.
Hi, Valerie, do you have names for your bikes?
Yeah.
I can't say that I do actually, and yeah, I feel unprepared, but I just usually, it's the black one or the blue one, or the other blue one.
Valerie?
Yeah, we kind of refer to them as the purple one and the sparkly one. But sometimes we call one the booty power one. Because it's the e-bike and it's got the power in it already. So the booty power bike.
All right, well, next time I stop by, I expect to hear all of you guys that were said, I gotta go think about it. That you'll have a new name. Are you ready now?
Ready now.
Oh, what are your names?
I don't think my bikes have names.
Oh, man.
Didn't we give them names though?
You called one of them Precious.
I think you named it the Precious. That was the Milano,
Right.
and that was her name.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we know how to switch the screens. Is it better? Which one's better for us?
That one.
It's a little bit bigger, yeah.
Do I?
Yeah, swap screens.
Okay.
Did it one more time.
Yes, you had it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. So this agenda item is to take a look at the active transportation master plan and do kind of a introductory discussion on its status and where we're going from here. So just in general terms, the ATMP is really the thing that guides us and tells us what we need to work on ongoing to make things better for bicycling. And it also tells us what our priorities ought to be. And of course, it doesn't really do anything. Like, we have imbibed it with this power. Like, it's a document that we create and maintain and keep moving forward. As we know, there's lots of things that we can do. We can't possibly do everything in the time or resources that we have. So we really need to be strategic about how we go about this and make sure that we're doing the most important and most impactful things. We are closing in on the 2-year anniversary of adoption. Actually, that comes up in November. Lots of things are happening. We're on the verge of doing a lot of great things, both in terms of actual underground infrastructure as well as kind of additional planning to move us forward. So it seems like it's a good time to check in to see kind of where we are with the document and begin the conversation of where we want to go and what happens next. So I included these. I don't know that it's going to be practical to try to flip back and forth between them, but I included these in the agenda too, if you want, like that reference to go back and look.
Valerie, you might want to mute. Although it's adorable.
Right? That's really boring. So I said we were, the ATMP was adopted in November of 2022. We did a minor amendment in July of 2023, specifically to add a section on complete streets conversion, and we identified those four. And then we amended our safety targets to be 0 fatalities or serious injuries. And both of those, that amendment were both, all of it was strategic to meet the requirements for Safe Streets for All plan implementation grant, which we managed to meet and then got the grant for the Butler Avenue complete streets conversion. A quick reminder, I appreciate that a lot of you have been through this and have seen this like a dozen times before. Probably don't need to see it again, but for new members, this will help. And this is just to kind of help set the context of where we're at. So these are the chapters in the ATMP, introduction, current goals. The interesting part that we'll talk about include goals and policies, chapter 3, and outcomes, indicators, and targets in chapter 4, as well as number 5, which really is one of the more important chapters, which is how do we do all this stuff. And then there's some things about planning and design, our infrastructure, and then a more detailed list of things to do in the Appendix A under policies and strategies. We produce some background information, which is still relevant. We keep updating it. We did a handful of community surveys. We can do more. We made a list of existing plans and policies, in part just to get kind of a handle on all the different things that were going on with transportation. Like our partners at Metro Plan and Mountain Line always have different plans going on. And I think for both our purposes kind of internally as well as for the public to be able to see all the different things that are happening and what they mean and how they fit in together is beneficial. We collect data on mode share so we know how many people are walking and biking. We collect information on ped and bike crashes. And then we had, the last thing was kind of a general list of resources related to active transportation. For goals and policies, we have 13 goals and 32, that should say policies, organized around 6 topics. The topics are infrastructure, maintenance and operations, support and encouragement, safety, transportation and land use, and evaluation. And so these are the things that start to tell us like what direction we need to head in and what we need to do. At the end of the document, those policies are given a lengthy list of things to do. So this is where we really get into detail about what specific things we can do to move forward. And these are the kind of the things that we'll start to review to decide, are these things still relevant? Are there other things? Which of these are our priorities? Which do we want to work on? Which are already being worked on? Where have we made progress, et cetera? Implementation was chapter 5. This section describes in general terms all the opportunities we have to implement things. It also lists priority actions. So 4 things in the first year, which we're now at 1.5 years. So when we look at those in the next slide, we can decide if we've done this or not. And then 9 things over the next 5 years. So the most immediate things and then the next priority after that. So here were the first year things. First one, implement ped and bike projects with funding from 419. I'd say we're on our way. Honestly, it's been a challenge. The city's capital function is down considerably in their staff, so they have not had great capacity to deliver projects. But we do continue to move forward. First mile, last mile, for example, moves forward. We have not seen a lot of stuff on the ground, but hopefully that will break loose soon, and we'll begin to see like actual things happening on the ground. The second one is explore grant programs. When Congress approved the infrastructure, the name of it, investment jobs.
Bipartisan infrastructure law.
Bipartisan, yeah, that's a good.
BIL.
Yeah, bipartisan. There were all kinds of new grant opportunities that we're focused on, like walking and biking and active transportation. So we've been doing our best to take advantage. What's our rundown of grants that we've gotten?
To name some,
Yeah. Or
Safe-
ones we've gotten and the ones we have in the hopper that we've applied for.
yeah, Safe Streets for All, that was Butler Avenue Complete Streets conversion, $9.6 million awarded last year. This year we were awarded $2.1 million through Safe Streets for All for a supplemental planning effort. That'll be underway towards the end of this year. That's Safe Streets for All. Transportation alternatives, that is funding the safe routes to school work that, that funds the new position through Metro Plan, the safe routes to school coordinator, and a number of other good things. ATIP, active transportation infrastructure investment program we talked about last year. That'll be the Milton Bikeway and Santa Fe Foots Trail extension and the design of that, just to name a few. And they're recurring too, so they come back around every year, and we always have something in mind to go after.
Even before that, Estella wrote the First Mile, Last Mile grant for a variety of ped bike projects. So really, the whole grant thing's been kind of a team effort between the city, Metro Plan, and Mountain Line as partner.
Downtown Mile, doesn't that do some bike ped stuff?
Downtown Miles, yeah. 2 underpasses at Florence Walnut and then downtown.
Success. Check.
Check that one out. Check it out. Yeah. And it's still happening. Third one is establish a complete transportation process. The idea is if we think about, and you guys were part of these processes, about the process that we went through to look at Butler and Lone Tree and the Lone Tree overpass. And then after that, the corridor on East Butler and the Butler Fourth intersection. The idea was that we kind of memorialize how we go about doing transportation planning and what are the things that we consider. And it really, a complete transportation process means that we look at all kinds of city goals and values and considerations beyond just vehicles and movement of traffic. And these were part of those discussions, but if we had that process a little bit more formalized, it seems like we could be a little bit more consistent in that application, a little bit more efficient in how those processes move forward. This has not happened, but I think there's an opportunity for this with the Safe Streets for All planning grant and some of the work that will come out of that. The last one was to do a comprehensive code review. And this is to look at both the city zoning code and engineering standards to see where we have opportunities to implement parts of the ATMP and at the same time kind of look at things that are preventing us from moving forward with ideas in the ATMP. We have done the code review for the engineering standards, but not the zoning code as of yet. The city council, I should say, adopted the first round of code revisions for engineering standards in April, and we're in the process of working on the second round. Council is, when the first round went to council, they were very interested in continuing that process and making sure that we went to the second round and did, kept it going and enacted all the changes that we wanted to enact, even as they became more complicated. So knowing that, we're making sure that we're moving forward and seeing progress on the rest of it. We'll try to get it back to them in a timely manner, but it will probably be, I would guess, at a minimum toward the end of this year that we do that. And we'll, as a committee, we'll see those changes to get to before they move to council. There's a different process called LASCAB, which stands for Land Availability and Suitability Study and Code Analysis Project. Did I get that right? which is looking generally at our codes, both the engineering standards and the zoning code for its impact on sustainability and affordability or attainability of housing. And so the part that looks at sustainability includes a transportation component. That's not its primary focus, but I think it at least includes considerations that way. In the first 5 years, bike parking, maintenance and snow removal, detours and closures, providing good information, expanding staff, adopting a safety action plan, reestablishing the Safe Routes to School program, exploring a travel demand management program, and adopting a complete streets policy. So we can look at a few of these bullet points and I can tell you what's going on. There's a lot of interest in maintenance and snow removal, but I'm not sure how we would measure if we've had progress with that. That's a tough subject to tackle, really. Detours and closures, there was a little bit included in the engineering standard revisions, probably about a whole lot more we could do. Updating pen bike information is not much has gone on, but we're working on a few things. We have expanded our staff. We have 2 new staff people, so there's 3 of us now. Safety action plan will be adopted as part of the Safe Streets for All supplemental planning grant. That will be a key part of that. The next 2 is Kim and the person who's going to work for Kim. Kim's TDM program manager, and she's going to supervise the Safe Routes to School coordinator. And adopt a complete streets is, in the old days, all you had to do is say that, have a policy that said that you support complete streets and have kind of the standards to back that up. And now there's like 11 things that you have to do. So it's more complicated. But I think that will be part of, again, that Safe Streets for All supplemental planning grant. So we don't have to resolve everything or talk through it all tonight, but think about like other things as we kind of check some of these off the list. What do we do next? What comes next? And if you have any thoughts, like immediately throw them out.
We've talked a lot about the signage in town and all the paint we're gonna need to buy and kind of that the main highway, the main bicycle highway, and then the arterial routes that come off of that and the color coded signage that we're thinking about eventually doing. I'm always into having that bubbled up to the surface because it's just a fun thing to think about, like our town being, having a lot of signage and having a lot of like, having maybe a new map that says here's the main bike routes and it's color coded, the purple and I don't know what colors you have in mind. That's your favorite.
I think we can make that graphic all day.
Well, the
Yeah.
new map is coming out.
They can't overlap with mountain lines colors.
It's true, yeah.
Or they coordinate. Yeah.
Hey.
It's gotta be one or the other, yeah.
Complete opposite or complete same. But yeah, I'm always looking at that because when I first joined the committee, that was one of the first things, like in the first meeting that I was in that you guys talked about was, where does that fall on our list of priorities? We have big projects that we want to do, but there's also this like overarching, just connecting all of the bikeways that we have into a comprehensive bikeway through town that's kind of marked with signs and marked with paint and
Disappearing bikes paths or.
or they go nowhere.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's definitely, yeah. I know we've talked about that we need to, sooner rather than later, I think we need to like make some.
I'm still a bit confused on where the sign's gonna come from. Is that like a third-party vendor that we're gonna just buy all the signs from, or like, how does that, I mean, how does that design process work, and how does it, when does it actually happen that we get a bunch of signs and put them in the ground? I mean, how does that process look?
I mean, it's probably a couple of steps. So one is to sort of work out how the system is gonna work.
Mhm.
And then two is there some element of design? There are resources for doing bicycle signing that, like an METCD, for example, that include pretty generic signs.
And you showed us some of those over the years too.
Yeah.
Brought some of those standards in and.
Yeah, so I think we could decide how, if we want to kind of use those off the shelf things, or if we want like custom branding. Or something a little bit more unique for Flagstaff. If that's the case, then I think we can go out, we have a designer that will work on them to develop that. How they look. So one is how the system works, like how we want signs to point people and to along routes and to destinations and all that kind of stuff. And the second part is what those signs look like. And the third part would be building them, like actually making them, installing them. So the city went through this with the foot signs a couple of years ago, and that was kind of the general process. So it becomes a real capital project. And I'm guessing there's probably gonna be somewhere between 500 and 1,000 signs.
Yeah.
The whole thing is done.
Oh man, that's so exciting.
Yeah. And we don't have to do it all at once. Like we could devise the system, design the signs, and then kind of phase in implementation. So it doesn't have to.
So do the main route first, and then you do kind of the arterial routes.
Yeah, yeah, that could be one way. Yeah.
Yeah, or you could do it and like time it with like notifications, like put it in the Daily Sun, hey, this route is now paved and ready to go. And then this, like, you can just like, by bike paths, by bike trails, hey,
Do you think for bike parking, I feel like it doesn't come to the fore as much because safety concerns are so paramount and comfort concerns, and that's the way I would have it. But if you are solely a bike commuter, which I am, it's really hard when you can't put your bike anywhere and you're locking it to trees. Like if the goal is that people could run small errands, go to the doctor, go to work, and be able to leave their bikes safely, you cannot do that right now in this city.
It's listed first on the list.
Yeah, right, and that's what, like, again, I feel like I'm not gonna put it above safety, but, or like street conversions, but it is, if you're actually thinking about having a fully functioning bicycle commuting system, parking, and especially covered parking, which I think I've mentioned before, would be ideal, to actually facilitate people using their bike as their main or only form of transit. Yeah.
Also a good thought. I think that the other thing that bike parking does, like, it's really practical and of trip experiences for people, but like, it's really a very visible way that the city can express support for accommodation of bicycles.
Right.
I think it's also, the amount, but the quality as well. Like there's
agree
so
with
many
that.
times where, it's just the rack where you put your front tire in and not the loops, which that doesn't work for most people if you like a U-lock and stuff. So it's also maybe like the education, or I don't know, or if it's in the design guidelines for the city of like how, like what type of placement, like how far from a wall and the types, of infrastructure to make it usable. Oftentimes it's not always usable.
I agree, it's not bolted in. There's so many bike racks around town, they're just sitting on the sidewalk. And you can pick them up.
Yeah.
I've picked them up before to see if you could do it. You can, turns out.
Can I jump in here? I don't know if I'm like a member yet or not, but.
You're close enough.
You can
Close
jump
enough.
in.
Okay, cool. Well, just. I don't know if how many people have spent much time in like downtown Tucson, but they have bike racks that are, it seems like the city commissioned Bikeus, which is the bike co-op down there, to make these awesome sculptures, like reworked bike parts. Yeah, into like these sculptures that act as bike racks. And I thought, that's like a really interesting way to kind of add, like you were saying, like you're part of including bike parking is us saying like, hey, we're encouraging people to ride our bikes, and that is like, I don't know, maybe another way that just bring some character to it. But just a thought.
It's great.
We have the bike racks that you slide your wheel into are great for the bike business because they will bang your trailer off center, destroy your spokes.
Go to BC Mundo after you park on one of those.
It's usually about a $50 repair.
Just a thought on that. Like, if that were to eventually become a priority, what would the process be? Would it just be us complaining about the places that we know that the racks are inadequate? Would we need like a survey? I mean, I just, because I do think that's a big one. And if anyone's been to the 4th Street campus of Coconino Community College, I got that one replaced because I complained a lot, so.
Yeah, about it.
I feel like a survey could be useful just to see where there are bike racks and where there aren't, and how, if there was a way to go do that on foot. I also think, again, in my own experience, like the biggest problem is when you have a major shopping plaza with 0 bike racks, and there's tons of businesses in there and you can't get to any of them really without locking it to a traffic sign or a tree. But otherwise, like if I was thinking about community priorities where people would need to go, it'd be like grocery store, medical care, pharmacies, like anything that you need to get to would be kind of my priority, but probably like dense commercial areas.
For new developments, there is a requirement, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So, but
It's in the engineering standards or it's somewhere.
yeah.
Is that
Zoning code,
limited
yeah.
by the size, like how big the business
I
is?
think, yeah, from if my memory's right, and it's like, yeah, it kind of similar to car parking, like how many spaces are required, right, Martin?
Yes.
But does the city have any authority to, like retroact it, like, for existing
Shopping plaza.
businesses to set requirements? Say this is now our new zoning code standard,
It's more limited.
right?
They have to be doing something
Doing work,
that
yeah.
requires city approval and to meet a particular threshold. Yeah.
Maybe something like a tax incentive. Businesses put in adequate bike parking, they'll get a little tax break from the city.
Yeah, a couple thoughts just to follow up on all your discussion. We do have an inventory of bike parking, but it's like a few years old, like it needs to be updated. We need, last time we had like an intern volunteer that went around. The technology now is so much better for collecting that information. Versus last time we had like part of it involved a clipboard, for example. So there is that. We even went to the extent of like identifying places like you mentioned where like a big shopping center where they have no bike parking, where it's clearly lacking. In addition, like other commercial places where it wasn't there. So we do have a requirement for bike parking in the zoning code. It gets pretty specific, like it doesn't allow the wheel bender type racks, and it talks about placement. For example, it has to be 50 feet or less to the front door. There are dimensional requirements for walls and things like that. So that part is good. We require bike parking that's equivalent to 5% of vehicular parking. That probably is on the low side. That's also just one version of a requirement. And that really addresses just short-term parking. So if you're like at like a shopping center or a coffee shop or whatever, and you lock your bike up and you go in, and 40 minutes later you come out. It doesn't do a very good job at all at addressing bike storage, like a multifamily development, for example, like where people, they're not locking their bike to go in for 40 minutes. That's where they keep their bike.
Right.
So the numerical standards need to be different, like 5% is not enough. And B, like just having a rack outside is not, probably not sufficient. I mean, if you lived in an apartment, would you leave your bike in a rack outside? Yeah, most people wouldn't. So there are other options for storage, like, cages, indoor rooms, covered parking lockers.
Yeah, NAU has covered cage. You
Yeah.
support, right? Students can pay and you can park outside or you can park in your own gated.
Yes, and the point of that is like, if you're a student, if you ride to campus, you can leave your bike in there all day.
All semester and never use it.
And not worry.
That's what they do.
You have to pay for that?
You do.
You do, yeah.
So what's the cost about?
I think it's $65 a semester.
Yeah,
I looked into it.
Yeah, it was 60 or 40, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
But you can, I mean, at other campuses, you can also build larger sheltered bike storage, like at UBC, they had it was probably from the door over to maybe about here, but rectangular with overhead racks, lower racks, middle racks. You could fit probably like 70 bikes in there, but it was keypad access. So you have to pay for that.
So I think some of the student housing developments,
That's that.
like off campus have, like centralized bike storage areas, because they have parking garages. And those are perfect opportunities to provide, like a cage or something, inside. So we do, when new development comes in, we do have the requirement, two thoughts. One, we could lower the thresholds for when bike parking is required. Like now it's fairly high and it's related to like parking standards. So if we lower that, there may be more places that would be required to put in bike parking in response to like, change of use or doing some other work that is minimal. There's always a concern about what things cost to businesses and housing and so on. I don't really feel that bad about bike parking. I think they're
Low hanging fruit.
way low. It's on the ground. I mean, it's way low. They're like $100 for a bike ride.
Yeah.
This is not, and the benefit of it way outweighs that. And then the other thing we can do, I think a lot of communities do this. We looked into it briefly, but really it takes, resources to run such a program is subsidized bike parking. Like a lot of places have 50-50. Like if you could put up 50% of the cost, the city will give you a bike rack. I think we could, there's kind of a dividing line in there. I think we could probably get the money to buy the entire rack for a place. So they don't have to put up any cash, but there's a phenomenon that if you're putting some investment into it, that you care more about it than if you're not. And like we want them to care about it, right? Like we want them to put it in a place where it's useful. We want them to keep it and not, bury it under something else or whatever. So if they have invested in it, they're more likely to care about it. So, and I don't know, I don't, we'd have to look into how this works in other places, if one model works better than the other, whatever. But a lot of places do that. And now you can start to, fill in bike parking at I'll use an example, Park Santa Fe Shopping Center has any bike parking. So they could get some without having to come into the city and us having to require it. And we could target places, like we could say, okay, that's the biggest shopping center that has no bike parking. Instead of waiting for them to come to us and ask for a 50-50 bike rack, like we go to them and say, hey, let us help you with bike racks.
Great.
Yeah, I know the city does that with like sidewalks. Like if you have a sidewalk that's spalding, is that the word I'm looking?
Spalling, yeah.
Yeah, that's a word.
Yeah.
Yeah, the city will approach the property owner and say, hey, I'll go halvesies on you on the new sidewalk. And so, yeah, I mean, I like that.
And again, it's not,
For doing it.
it's way less expensive than sidewalks to do bike parking.
For real.
So did any of our surveys talk specifically about parking? I mean, one of the good things is it's too late for this bike to work week, but that's always a really good opportunity because when people log in for their the work challenge, you can attach a survey that they automatically get booted to as soon as they log out. That's been really helpful for getting surveys.
I think it's a real issue. Like people will talk about it, but like in our surveys, I think comes in second place to other infrastructure.
Yeah.
things. Like, yeah.
How did the clipboard turn out a couple years ago? What did it show? Did it show that we're lacking bike parking, or did it show that we're?
I mean, overall, it's hard to say if we're lacking bike parking, but it showed like commercial areas where there is none,
Yeah.
like where it was lacking. We added a lot downtown and kind of in response.
Yeah, I saw the city, the new city court has like
Yeah,
3 or 4 new spots right there where the city court went in.
yeah.
There's a few other places where.
So as development takes place, we'll ask for it, like the city court was an example of that. And then the DBA added some along a few city streets. They're kind of the tall ones with, I forget what it says at the top.
Welcome Flagstaff or something.
Yeah, there's a picture of mine, in case you were confused about what it is. And then the city has added
One of those courthouse bike racks.
You did?
I did.
When was that? Oh, that's recently.
Couple years
A
ago.
couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the issue is it's mostly.
Try your
they don't have any, and especially if it's something off of like 366 or Milton,
Yeah,
nothing.
I mean, I've had like Home Depot, Warren, like,
Yeah,
like I've gone to these places on a bike and then you can't.
can't walk up anywhere.
Yeah.
I know the disc golf course has some nice bike parking.
Those are.
Darn right.
I have a legacy.
Go ahead and try to lift that one.
Right? Have you seen them? And have you seen the one at Thorpe and the one at McPherson?
Yeah.
They're huge. Yeah, that was Mayorga's welding.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I mean, there's all kinds of different avenues we can go down. There's a lot of things we can improve. We may have capacity now to think about that. That'd be a good student project if anybody knows of anybody to update that survey. A good summer project.
I think there is a possibility of partnering with Flag High and Coquina High School welding programs
That'd be fun.
to maybe that is a semester project to build like each one of their schools. It could even be a competition. See, this is where my brain, well, you guys, I'm like, seriously writing notes. Anyway, but, to do maybe 2 areas in their, in their respective sides of town, 4, and, maybe if we can get it made, fabricated, whatever, maybe we can get the city to install it or, something like that. And I don't know,
Sure.
see if there's
Yeah.
a place.
Great idea.
You have the Flag High kids put it up at the baby bashes. That'd be great.
Well, that they go there all the time. So yeah, might as well.
Exactly.
Right? Sure. Yeah, and then maybe the other one at the Safeway.
Yep.
Right? Those are 2 pretty,
They do technically have a bike rack at that Safeway.
no,
Pretty
it's covered,
Right, yeah, covered.
covered. That's what I think, covered parking.
Make it
Covered
a
rack.
competition. That we
Yeah.
can do, which is better.
We could have a community survey. We could have a survey.
Oh my God.
Things out. It'd have to be fancy. It'd have to be fancy, and then Sam is locking her bike to trees for or something.
Quantity.
All right, anything else? Those are great. I think those are definitely in line with priorities. Okay, moving on. Chapter 4 is outcomes and indicators. Outcomes are things that we anticipate as results or consequences. And this is always tricky because we want actual good things to happen. Like we don't want to stop our efforts when we do something like we could say we want an outcome to be that we provide more bike lanes around town, but really we want the outcome to be that more people are biking because we provide bike lanes. So we're looking for that final thing. And then indicators are the things that tell us if that's happening or not, and to what extent. So here are the outcomes that we have in the plan. Walking and biking are frequently used transportation options for everyone. People can travel anywhere in the community on safe, comfortable, efficient networks. Walking and biking is safe and comfortable. Biking and walking are celebrated as part of Flagstaff's identity. Transportation in Flagstaff has a lower climate impact, and walking and biking are enjoyed by everyone in the community. And I'll just give you one example. So for the indicator, walking and biking is safe and comfortable. Our indicators are comfort indices, so kind of a scoring system on city GIS about where biking is comfortable or uncomfortable. Crash rates, crash numbers are decreasing. Community surveys tell us that the perception of walking and biking is becoming more positive. And then lastly, that we can measure increases in low stress bikeway network. And there are similar things that are indicators for each one of these 6 outcomes. These are kind of a little bit subjective in a way, like we're not setting specific targets. We just want crash rates to be decreased, for example. It also suggests that in some cases, there's more data for us to collect if we want to really check to see if these things are happening. We do have some specific targets, but they are very focused. So targets are very specific numeric milestones and have a time frame associated with them. We organize them around 3 subjects: mode, share, safety, and recognition, and then set 2 targets for each. So for mode share, it's the percentage of people who are walking, biking, or taking transit for all trips, and then the percentage for work trips. For safety, we see reductions in both total crashes, bike ped crashes, and serious injury, fatal crashes. This is what we were talking about before. With an amendment, you can see the column under fatal serious bike ped crashes goes to 0 after 5 years and stays at 0 over 20 years. And that's the Vision Zero. How many crashes? What's our goal for how many crashes we want to have that are fatal or result in serious injury to a bike or ped? Of course, the answer has to be 0. Like, we don't want any of them, any crashes like that. And then finally, we are both a walk friendly and a bike friendly community. Current is bronze and silver, and our ambitions take us higher than that.
What's our biggest impediment to getting up to gold right now, do you know?
I think probably we're doing a lot of good things. I think, like more education. Infrastructure is probably going well.
Oh, it's coming. I promise. I promise it's coming.
A handful of other things that Kim is going to do.
Yeah, come on, Kim.
It's all on you, Kim.
No, it's happening. I promise. I have a whole list. It's
Bring us the gold.
working on it.
Is it submitted? Is that, how do you work? How do you become gold?
Yes, submitted, yeah.
It's an organization.
Submitted and they
What's the
approve it.
organization called?
Oh, that's great.
League of American Bicyclists.
League of American
Yeah.
Bicyclists.
Wasn't also like the number of protected bike lanes and things, like you have to meet so many miles and
Yes.
stuff. So I think we definitely can improve in infrastructure. We can meet those.
We can look at it at some point. They have very, fairly specific milestones about, like, a gold committee has like these characteristics. You can kind of benchmark.
Yeah, it's a simple path.
Paint signs, paint signs.
It's a pad.
Chapter 8 is infrastructure. We spent a lot of time going through the prioritization process. So a few things that are coming up. 2 things that we can work on. We address bikeways and foots in the ATMP, but I think there's room, and in the case of bikeways, at least, kind of a necessity to be more specific about what we want planned. So as new development takes place, the expectations for bicycle accommodation are clear and enforceable, basically. The regional plan is being updated. And transportation is a significant part of that. And then Chris mentioned the Safe Streets for All supplemental planning grant. One of the things that's going to produce is a streets master plan. And we're still working out the scope of what that will all include, but in my mind, if you read through the ATMP and every place it talks about things that we need to do, that work can help address that. So if we, for example, if we need a better set of policies or standards or whatever for detours and closures, this document can maybe help work us through to tell us what that should look like. That's one example. There are a bunch more. Reviews and updates. So we don't want this to be a static document. And what's listed here is a bunch of different components and how often we might consider updating them. The entirety of the ATMP itself, we could look at every 5 years. I don't think we have to rewrite the thing, but maybe parts of it need to be updated. Our infrastructure priorities, we should probably have on about a 3-year schedule. So after 3 years, things will have changed. Conditions are different. We should look at our priorities and make sure that they're still relevant. Our capital plan, which implements those projects, is done annually, so we have an opportunity to do that every year. Our priority actions that we just looked at, we could review those every year and just make sure, see what we checked off and what might be added. Outcomes indicators and targets are a little bit softer, so maybe every 5 years in conjunction with the overall plan. And then historically, we've been updating mode share and crash data every 1 or 2 years. The data for mode share comes from the American Community Survey. That's how people get to work, and that comes out annually, so we can update it. Metro Plan does what's called a trip diary survey every 6 years, and that gives us really detailed information about how people travel. Crash data comes out all the time, so we could update that annually. Data collection that we either do some level of or maybe beneficial to do more of. I mentioned community surveys. Years ago, we used to do like a bicycle commuter survey every couple of years just to find out like how people are traveling. For example, like do people commute in winter? We would ask, and then ask them about a bunch of questions to get their thoughts about bicycling. We did a whole bunch of surveying before the ATMP. Candidly, I've been reluctant to do too much more surveying until we actually start doing some things, because I think if we ask people, they're just going to tell us just like you've heard from us, just do the things. I don't want to go back. What do you think? We told you already. Do the things. And then the other one we've done routinely is a foots user survey to find out how people use foots trails and that sort of, that's really useful. We can think about those two things, I think, in conjunction with a bikeways plan potentially and a foots plan potentially. We try to keep a good inventory of infrastructure as we complete things. Comfort indices, I mentioned a little bit, that's kind of a way of telling like where we have issues or where we have problems. Like, for example, if you looked at a map that's based on comfort indices and all of your route was blue, which means comfortable, say. But there's a short section that's red. That red section can be really problematic because it could ruin the rest of that blue section for your particular commute. So it gives us a good tool of kind of evaluating it. We, for the most part, in infrastructure, we've focused on what's missing or what's planned, and we haven't really done much with like what's the condition of that. And like sidewalks are a good example of that. They can be present but in really, really bad condition, and you're losing half of the value of them. Some of the national recognition stuff we talked about, carbon neutrality for the city's climate action plan includes vehicle miles traveled and greenhouse gases. And they have very specific targets for both of those things. Vehicle miles traveled is just a measure of how much we're driving. The other way of looking at it, there's like a total number, but the other way of looking at it is vehicle miles traveled per capita. So how much is each person driving? And then there's I think a handful of measures that we can use for accessibility and equity. And we don't do much with that. That probably there's some opportunities there. Of all the things on this list, I think the one thing that we probably need most, but do the least of, is bike and ped coms. Can't change what you don't measure. We are hoping that if we engage a consultant for the Safe Streets for All supplemental planning, that they will help us like get the first round of ped bike counts as part of that, and maybe set us up to continue collecting data. Our infrastructure is generally focused on basic things like sidewalks and bikeways and foot trails and crossings. But there's a whole other bunch of smaller, very specific things that we could look at as well that we could start to prioritize, like accessibility enhancements, for example. Do we have curb ramps everywhere? Accessible pedestrian signals are becoming a thing. We could look at retrofitting a lot of the city signals to include that. Sidewalk repair or replacement addresses that condition issue. There's a bunch of places we can make just little short connections in neighborhoods that might make all the difference, that are kind of below the level of analysis that we've done previously for sidewalks, for example. Prohibited crossings, like on Route 66, if you've ever tried to get from one side to the other at a signalized intersection, you'll notice that you can't cross it every leg. Foots, what we have could be improved. We've focused on how to connect the missing pieces and how to expand the system, but how do we improve what we already have? Asphalt trails this is becoming a serious issue quickly. Like even the time we've been in this meeting, the asphalt foots have deteriorated some, possibly not measurable amount. It's happening. And then I won't go through the other ones, but you can see bike parking is on this list as well.
And the signage.
And the signage, yep. That's all I had for that topic. This was really just meant to be kind of an introduction, but I think we should. I think the intent is now that the AT&P has gone a little ways, we've started on a few things. Let's take a step back and reevaluate it. And I think also that a plan that gets written and sits on the shelf is worthless. We want to make sure that this thing is kind of active, current, and relevant, and that it's like a living document that we keep working on it and keep it alive, basically.
Yeah, we were working on a project and our document was called NED, the never ending document.
That's great. That's all you got?
That's all.
Well-
Somebody else, feel free to jump in, thoughts, comments, suggestions, admonishments.
Get her done.
Joel,
Get it done.
just do something.
I will say I'm working on a Safer People educational marketing campaign. So Susan, your education is coming. So I don't know exactly what it's going to include. I gave a really big list. We'll see what people can do.
And what'd you call it again? Safer people.
It's part of the Federal Highway Administration's safe systems approach. And Safer People is one component of it.
It almost sounded like we have to breed safer people now.
Yes. Yes, we do.
And we'll see if that's actually gonna happen. It's a good.
I was just to go back to the signage thing. I was on Route 66 bike path recently and encountered a couple who were biking on it as well, and they asked me, where's downtown? And I just had to tell them, like, you just just keep going and then the trail ends and you know you're there. But I'm but I'm kind of curious. Like, I think it's great that people, seems like from out of town, are like coming here and stoked to, like, you know, borrow bikes from their Airbnb and come downtown. But I mean, I do see that as a priority. I am kind of curious if anyone has a vision for what this signage looks like. How, like, is there a map? Is it just, you know, downtown 0.5 miles, or where are people at with that?
Like in a lot of communities that have an actual skyline, like downtown is easier to find. Just go in the direction of the big buildings. I think that could be part of it. Like one part of it is navigating routes. So like being able to know where the best routes are to get places, like to get to campus or from your house to campus or whatever. But I think part of it is like serves a tourist
Right.
visitor function with getting around, like how do you get to destinations? And the funny thing about that, like people who are new, like if they want to get to downtown or to a museum or something, that wayfinding helps them with that. But if you're like a new cyclist and you've been around town, it also helps you with that. Like you get on a bike path and go, oh, you know, this way takes me to the Aquaplex, or this way takes me to the library. And then, you know, oh, I can go to the library, to the Aquaplex on my bike. And then the next time, you know, you want to do that, you'll do that. And that's an overcoming a barrier to cycling. Like you don't know which routes to take or how to get places.
And I think better signage of, some of them, you guys have done it really great, but if they were increased where you are saying the name of the trail you're on, then it can map with that map, you really could, oh, I take this one to here and there, and I can, you know.
Well, and the hard thing is that there's so much stuff that's being done right now that
Right.
if you come up with a map, it's gonna be outdated in a
Right.
year from now. Cause there's a lot of bicycle infrastructure that's going in, right? Like as we're talking.
As the asphalt is degrading.
As the asphalt is degrading, the projects are being worked on.
So it's a cycle of life.
Of Martin's life.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of, you know, electronic ways of distributing that information that is much easier to keep up on than printed things.
But did you say you're doing a new printing of the Flagstaff floods map?
We are, yeah.
When is it out? This summer sometime?
It should be in a couple of weeks. Yeah, we just about got it wrapped up. And
It's already outdated.
It's already outdated. As soon as it's printed. That happens.
But then by evening, it's out of date.
Yeah.
I need more maps. Do you have any?
Those maps?
Yeah,
Barely. Can give you a copy.
right. Other comments? Well, so we could go to the old business of the bikeways plan.
Skip that one for next time.
Okay, we could go to concluding general business, which, do you have a couple of those you want to highlight?
Yeah, do you wanna talk about bike education stuff going on?
So Martin and I hosted a smart cycle class. It's through the League of American Bicyclists. We had 6 participants. And the next step is hopefully they're all interested in becoming league certified instructors with the League of American Bicyclists. So we're kind of wrapping up and trying to get a class organized. And it's a long one. It's a 3-day long sucker. That Martin and I are just the helpers. And another big master trainer comes and does the class. So there you go. I don't know. We had 3 law enforcement, which was great. And these 2, which was great. And
They were star pupils.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So that's, coming in the fall, hopefully. What else do I need to say?
law enforcement was, there's 3 representatives, one from the city of Flagstaff, one from NAU, and one from the sheriff's county office. So covered some ground, and hopefully that, spreads through their
Right, the
respective
hope is like to
systems.
train the trainer.
Yeah.
Kind of just so they can keep their officers up to date. And, yeah.
There's a possibility we might do the class. Yeah, because there were a handful of other people who are interested but weren't able to make that first class.
Yes.
Great, if you do it again, let me know.
Yeah.
I'd like to try to make it.
Okay. The first one was a little bit odd because they FBO kind of organized it. They wanted it to be very specifically for law enforcement. So
Good idea.
they wanted the most to be like all law enforcement people, not, so we did not really advertise it outside of
We didn't.
a handful of people.
And you were pleased with the results then? Getting the 4 people?
So
3.
3?
three
Well,
people.
we had 6 total, but we
Yeah.
had 3 law enforcement.
Yeah. Next topic?
Oh, we can go through, I haven't done anything more with NAU campus mobility stuff that we talked about last time. We talked a bit about the bikeways map. D, E, and F are all, actually D, E, F, and G are all grant projects. We talked about a little bit, Chris gave a rundown. He did not mention that he wrote a grant for, sort of a grant for a road safety assessment. Highway 89, and that's kicking off. ADOT accepted his proposal. And the next step is, well, why don't you go ahead, you describe it.
Sure. So I think that we've talked about the details of these before. The ADOT offers their resources for road safety assessments along sections of the state highway system. They conducted one on Milton Road last year, and that is now completed. We've gotten the report. They turn these things out in about a year. So we applied going into 2024 for another one. And we're hoping to get the results and, the finished product by December of 2024. This new one, it was born from the crash report that David Lemke and a few of us others work on. We presented the crash report update to Transportation Commission, and they noticed, as we all, had at that point, high severity pedestrian crash incidents along Highway 89 and Route 66 between Steves Boulevard and Marketplace Drive. So they requested that we investigate that further. We decided that a good way to do that would be to apply for an RSA. Ultimately, that was accepted. In recent weeks, we've been reached out, like it's been posted now so consultants can make their bids to do the work. I've met with 2 consultants recently, and now that period is over and they have to actually, provide their bids. Somebody's going to be awarded it soon, and the process will get underway.
And really, you mentioned the pedestrian crashes and fatalities too. There've been like a handful of pedestrian fatalities.
High severity crashes.
So the crash data tells us like where those are an issue. The RSA can tell us what's happening, like dig into it deeper. Are there reasons for those crashes and what can we do about it? Like what improvements can we make? So
And they get very personal with the locations, multiple site visits at different points of the week, different times of day, to really evaluate all the conditions that might be going into these. So, and, discussions with us as well. So
RSA means,
road safety assessment. Yep.
just for the new people, there will be lots of acronyms.
Does this include like where Sacred Peaks is? I think it's like Trails End area.
I believe that is beyond the study area for this RSA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure out. You said it's on 66 at Steve's.
Yep, so from Route 66 and Steves, and then at a certain point, the roadway changes from Route 66 to Highway 89. And
Okay.
and then it continues.
Yeah.
It'll include Country Club.
Club to the
and then
mall.
to the intersection with Marketplace. Yeah, you wanna be, like, while you can do segments, you wanna be somewhat specific, because if it gets too long, you know, there might be some value lost in the study.
So something from Steve's to Maverick there, basically.
Yeah, what's that Marketplace? What's like the noteworthy?
Yeah, is that the Maverick?
It's like, no,
The mall
Marketplace Drive is, yeah, like,
The mall, right at the mall.
Yeah.
yeah,
Walls and then Safeway on the other side.
yeah.
Okay, great.
All right, the other things we kind of touched on, I will bring up K, Lake Mary Road. If anybody rides on Lake Mary or uses Lake Mary, you'll notice at where the county section starts, they put in a buffer to that bike lane.
It looks nice. Yeah,
Yeah, some really good paint.
yeah.
So the city is considering doing something similar on our section from JWP out. So I wanted to get your thoughts or comments on the city doing that. Looks good.
It looks good. Yeah, I guess I haven't been out there in a while. I was like, wow, like, yeah, there's
Yeah, it's
honestly,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean, the paint is very sharp and bright, so hopefully it can keep it that way, but yeah, it looks good. Good buffer and
Mhm.
a lot of people were biking where they still were like 2 and 2, but it seemed like there's at least more room.
Yeah.
The roadway's so big out there. I have a boat that I bring out to Lake Mary every once in a while. Not a big boat, but it's like plenty of room. Like, I can't believe that anybody would ever have it dust up with a bicycle out there. It just seems like the roadway is like humongous.
They narrow the travel lanes, or how did they get the buffer in there? Or there was just enough shoulder? Do you know?
In the county section, there was enough shoulder, but they narrowed the travel lanes a little bit to like 11.5 feet. And then took the rest out of the shoulder, which was 8 feet. So the city section is similar. But since the county did it in conjunction with like a repaving, they can start from scratch. I think in the city section, it would probably be a 2-foot buffer and a 6-foot shoulder. So it would all come out of that bike lane. So at some point, if it's resurfaced, we might be able to, narrow the lanes. Like that, there's a section just past JWP where you go through kind of a little neighborhood. I think it's called Frontier Homes. And there actually is kind of more of a regular street section with curbs and gutters. The bike lane there is fairly narrow, like 4.5 feet. And the median is really wide, like 14 feet. So we can't, sort of like some kind of a repaving, we can't really change that. So that section will be the same, but in the future, we could take some out of that 14-foot two-way left turn lane and continue that buffer. Okay, so that's good. Positive, we should do it? Okay. Just do it, do it.
Yeah. Go get her.
I think visually it'll help, if nothing else.
Yeah.
It helps signal to drivers that something's there and it's not just a shoulder.
I think that in the city section, we actually have it marked as a bike lane, but in the county section, I think it stopped short of it. It's just a shoulder.
They added a lot of signage, like a
They did.
recreation center or a corridor, recreation corridor. So, yeah, pretty clear, like there's gonna be people here.
Although some people think of that as Target. So I was gonna ask, the guy that you were talking to at the restaurant with Kai,
Oh,
was that the same guy that drove you off the road
No.
last month?
This person had a variety of opinions. Some of which like made sense to me and some of which did not totally make sense to me. Like one of the opinions ventured was that basically it's not safe to be like in a bike lane on a busy street and therefore one whole travel lane should be shut down and used for bicycles. And I was like, yeah, I'm for that. That sounds great. Let's do it. But some of the other things were like, but if you are on a bicycle and you're in the roadway, you should be going the speed of cars. So you should be biking at like 35, 40 miles an hour if that's the speed limit, or it's like, that's not feasible for most people. So, but this person said they had done that. They had gotten their speed to that fast. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing that. So.
Ours should have to go 17 to ice the speed.
This is why it was like I couldn't really get the various thoughts to form a cohesive whole vision,
He was
despite
working-
my prompting
was
and
working
Kai's
on it.
prompting. Yeah. There were lots of other philosophical ponderings that went in various directions as well. So,
Yeah, was that before or after he was talking about ancient Greece?
that was before ancient Greece. I mean, they didn't have cars, so, but I don't think they had bicycles either.
They probably had bike lanes, so.
I mean, you just, you were in the road.
That's like-
There was more, so, yeah, they had ped crossings at least. For the carts, so you didn't get run over by a horse.
They definitely had some of that in ancient Pompeii,
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
Roman, not Greeks.
I mean, if you want me to summarize it, I could try, but it was a wide ranging discussion.
That's our audience.
Yeah.
All right. Are we at the end?
We're at the end. Our next meeting is August 1st.
For some of us,
Did you need to approve any June minutes?
they are not actually out, so we don't. He was just talking.
Broke the game.
All right, well, so the meeting is adjourned to be recommenced at a local establishment. Anyone on board for that? Ooh.
Thank you, Martin.
Also, there's an IOU for getting more Foots hats made. So as soon as we have them,
Foots hats.
Right.
first 3 off of somebody.
Sweet.
I'm picturing a hat with a foot on it, but. Awesome. Yeah, I think you have my pen.
Yes. This is not gonna slide well.
At least you called it. Told you.
The effort was there.
You did record, right? I forgot to tell you to remember to record that.
Okay, wait, I have a bike related question.
Oh.
My partner got a flat at the airport. Where's the nearest repair kiosk?
Oh.
At our
the-
airport?
Yeah,
There's one at the bike park at Fort Tuthill.
okay, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's too bad either.
Reasonable. Ish.
20-minute walk.
That could be part
Long
of
summer days.
It's like, be systematic about those repair stations.
Yeah, that would also be good.
Yeah.
Thanks, online people.
So Martin, at 1 o'clock
Next time.
today,
Have a great
on
Fourth of
the Russell
July.
Parkway, and I didn't press the button and the light turned on. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know when they turn the walk by default. They're set at a time. It must be on.
It's on timing.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
66.
at 66 and at 1 o'clock. I waited. I was like, you know what? I think it just turned. I was like, I'm not gonna press the button. I sat. And sure enough, it was available. So.
What is 36 and what?
And what
It's officially a holiday, yes.
That's actually, can you ask them?
It is.
They're like a, is there anything systematic?
I was gonna tell Kate when
It was good. We just went to.
So, and I talked to Jeff. He sent me some.
Friday, my partner and his family. They were
That's a
kids.
good idea.
We could- I think we can make it good.
Rain the whole time.
Just a second.
I'm sure.
Right.
It was kind of nice, but also I feel like it's been super hot here and I expected it to be rainy coming back.
No, we're in the
I'm
process.
excited for our coffee.
Yeah, we're good.
So only.
No e-bike.
We're looking to get, I think it'll be 3.
So when it's on.
We're going to.
Yes.
Shall we? I'm on board.
So.
Dark sky,
Yeah.
uptown billiards.
Done it. We're 3.
So I had an idea for painting to have a
It's like, okay, fair
bike
enough.
rack that looks like a tree
Just say.
with hooks that you can hang your bikes on.
For a bicycle, if you don't have a conscious everyone says that.
Just walk on those.
Yeah.
So it's ancient history.
This is the building.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the building, that's the train tracks.
Like Austin might not.
That's right here on the second floor.
So yesterday,
Staring at the.
Not, wow, that's wonderful. But like, for you to bike in, is it a closer commute than where you have to go?
Bike for me.
well,
We're gonna text you in the.
I have pictures. I brought a picture.
It's easy. Yeah, it's walking or like.
And I'm